I want to buy Palantir. I don't know why. I just like to own all the people that think it's expensive because they don't know how to calculate cash flow. I mean, it's expensive, to be fair. Very luxurious with my real estate here, so I gotta cut down some of this. Yes, I was working on Roche. I don't know about Baba. I don't know. I will work on PayPal. I've been meaning to look at that. That's why I hate traveling, because, you know, my stuff isn't, like, ever gonna be in the exact, you know, configuration I need it. All right, PayPal, $59.35, big discount from before. It's actually, market cap's actually quite low. I always, you know, was thinking them as a $100 billion company that was like too lumbering to like be acquired or to potentially be nimble enough to do something cool. But actually, now that I think about it, this is actually the perfect size. Sometimes smaller is a little better. Yeah, it's wild, 9 times earnings, but still growing. Come on, guys, this is a screaming buy. I'm not even sure I have to do any more math. I've already studied this company. So let's see here, trade, PY, PL. It's a pretty tiny account, so we're just trying to grow the percentage as large as we can, but also responsibly. Not YOLOing, but a little more aggressive than normal. So we're at 30,388. So up around $400, which is, I think, roughly a record high. So hope to get to like 2% this month would be good. We started, I think, on April 2nd. So 2% would be nice. So we got PayPal. I just want to try some other products, and I see that Thinkorswim sucks. I mean, it's not awful, but it's research-wise, it's pretty useless. It seems like a decent tool for active traders. Interactive's got a little better analytics, but none of the broker things are good for analytics. How do I talk to Destiny? You gotta earn the right to talk to me, or pay for it. One or the other. I don't know why people ever thought he was intelligent. Ever. Projecting. I've done things with my life. He hasn't. I took my first company public at 28. He's early to live streaming. That's it. You see some of the DMs he sent people? You read some of those DMs, you'll never listen to this guy again. It's the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life. He thinks he can debate, but he's the problem with guys like him, it's sort of like Ben Shapiro. They're very good at clapbacks. And I can talk like that, by the way. You know, I have no problem, you know, interacting that way. Oh, is that what you think? Well, you know, you just kind of like go in on like the most, you know, I can go toe for toe like that. I just don't communicate like that because it's not a reasonable way to communicate. You know, it doesn't actually transmit any valuable intelligence. So I've weaned myself off, even though people like to see it, they like to hear it. You know, the world is a lot more complicated than the kind of, you know, black and white that he and other debaters, quote unquote, would like to make it out to be. You know, arguing about the economy, you know, economics is an empirical science, right? You cannot just, and you know, he'd be like, no, it isn't. Be like, okay, dude, I'm not going to raise my voice at you. One of us has a degree in economics. The other one doesn't. You have a degree in streaming and StarCraft. Like I can go as low as somebody wants to go, but I'm not gonna argue with somebody who just likes to sling mud for the entertainment of people. And so, I mean, people are starving for interesting people. People are starving for interesting conversation on the internet, and X is the place to go for that. For better or worse. It's not perfect, but X is good. Some stuff on Reddit, some stuff on Discord. I've never debated Destiny, no. But I'm not, you know, the clickbait is just not that, you know, interesting, and yapping is not that interesting to me. I like science, you know, I like markets, obviously, but I think, you know, what I've learned 20, maybe even in some cases 20 to 30 years of studying those subjects is that there is nothing exact. There's nothing to get riled up in a debate about. There are some things that are, you know, dogmatic, that are not going to change. But even those things, sometimes they change. So you just have to be really flexible. And like having conversations with me is weird because I'm always like, yeah, sure, maybe, yeah. You know, and you guys see me take opinions and take stances, but in general, like one thing I've learned is that it's pretty hard to like have the most solid opinions. For example, gene therapy and mRNA, the two treatment modalities, and even, you know, I would say any nucleic acid based therapy, two treatment modalities, as you guys know, I've talked about this. I was bearish on early in my career, and I was wrong. I thought that it would never happen. I thought we'd never get a gene therapy. Boy, was I wrong. You know, and the central dogma in pharmaceuticals was that. You know, it was that you could not, you know, grow, you know, deliver a large payload into a cell that was electrically charged. It just didn't make any sense. It violated every concept that we knew about, but that's the thing. We don't know everything. And in science, you know, the temptation just to erect dogma is something that is best avoided because, you know, we base our assumptions on things we think we know. And when those things aren't fully complete, it's like, yes, generally that's true. But in the case of active transport, obviously, any size barrier can be changed, any charge barrier can be changed in active transport. We still don't know what's happening with antisense and how they get inside the cell. I mean, now nootropics, this is a, well, you know, I'm talking about without LNPs, Maddie. But now nootropics, okay, this is a subject I get asked about a lot, and I'm pretty adamant about this, but again, I know I'm putting my foot in my mouth. To some extent, I'm doing it to be provocative, but I basically put out the contention that there's no such thing as a nootropic. Am I okay? Am I okay? Are you okay? Yeah, I think I'm okay. Do you want to interrupt me more? What line of work am I in? They call me Fidel Cashflow, and they also call me MMM, Money Maker Motivator. I will not elaborate. All right, and as usual, NVIDIA has traded the most. 289 million shares, up 2%. Lucid is a low-price stock, as is Ford, but those have traded over 100 million shares. Then we have Tesla and Palantir, traded 86 and 99 million shares there. Intel, Apple, and 𝗙𝗂𝗰, it doesn't really count because it's a low-price stock. We should put in a stock price filter in here. And those are traded between 50 and 70 million shares. Grab, Transocean, also low-price stocks. Amazon traded 47 million shares, down a tiny bit. Apple down 2 or 3% with Intel there. The new Wintel, Aptel, even though Apple makes their own chips. American Airlines, Vail, and NEO, all low-price stocks. Supermicro flat, traded 40 million shares. New Holdings is up 4% on 40 million shares of volume. Robinhood, SoFi, Bank of America, and Pfizer, all down while trading around 30-something million shares. Pfizer down 3%. The rest all kind of $1 stocks. All right, gainers, we got Agilon Health, AGL up 24%, Pacira up 17%, Bally's up 17%, Molson, ticker TAP, up 10%, Grab up 9%. Let's see, Clover Health up 9%, Humana, the big insurer, up 8%, Carvana, Scamvana up 8%. Although they're executing, they're selling more used cars. Apple down on $10 billion of volume, Meta and Amazon flattish on $8 billion apiece. Palantir up on $7 billion. Broadcom and United Health, again, very strong, up 5% on several $1 billion of volume. And Microsoft green, as well as Google. Alibaba down at $3 billion of value, as is AMD. Alibaba down quite a lot, but again, it's still up year to date. Netflix and Berkshire up a little bit on 2 or 3 billion of volume. Taiwan Semi down on the same. Strategy down 5%, starting to look real baggy. Bag 7 member down 2.5, down 5% on 2.5 billion. JP Morgan up, AppLovin also up, surprisingly. Micron down a little bit, Lilly up a little bit, Costco up a little bit, Robinhood down a little bit. Intel, again, very weak, down 4%. Looks like could be a buy at some point. That's all I got for most. Again, sharp weakness in pharma, surprisingly. You've got Bristol Myers down 3%. You've got Teva down 2%. Regeneron down 3%. Sanofi down a tiny bit. You got a couple of green spots too, but Pfizer and AbbVie down 3 and 4%. Interesting time for sure. Let's keep looking at PayPal a little bit. The official Bag 7 is Strategy, which we just put in there. Who else? 𝗂𝗔𝗔𝗔𝗕, Rigetti. Oh man, this is tough because is AMC in there? I want to say AMC's in there because that's one of the baggiest of all time. I don't know if 𝗕𝗬𝗑𝗪's in there. Bag 7? Bag 7's a big deal. I really have to start calculating the index prices and try to sell Bloomberg on putting it in there. Is Big Bear in there? That's a big thing for Bag 7. I don't think 𝗬𝗂𝗧's in there either. 𝗂𝗏𝗏's in there. Yeah, 𝗂𝗏𝗏's in there. No, we kicked Rocket Lab for MicroStrategy. There you go. Okay, 𝗂𝗔𝗔𝗔𝗕, Rigetti, 𝗕𝗬𝗑𝗪. You're right, 𝗕𝗬𝗑𝗪 was in there. 𝗂𝗏𝗏, AMC, Big Bear, and Strategy. You own any of those stocks, you got problems. Is anything baggier than that? A lot of stuff in the Dow Jones. GameStop is a good one. The only problem with GameStop is they do have a real CEO. Otherwise, it would be strictly Bag 7. I would get 2 spots in the Bag 7. It would be the most overweight. We could definitely launch a Bag 7 ETF and the Bag 7 index. Someone out there has them all. Oh, that's amazing, AL. No, I like Hood. You know, Vlad's a good CEO, man. Vlad's got a better chance of catching up to Goldman Sachs than you just ticker BAGG. Yeah, Ryan's the real deal. It's just hard to bet too much against GameStop. It's obviously not a stock I'd buy, but the inverse or converse doesn't apply. I don't know, Reddit's a real company, right? What's so fake about Reddit? To be in the Bag 7, you gotta be like gnarly bad. Like, so there's gotta be like, you gotta be downright near criminal to be in the Bag 7. We also need one for like FANG. We need to see if there's like a good word we can come up with those stocks. No, Quantum's there's nothing left to do in Quantum. Just wait. There's nothing other than reading Mike and Ike. I mean, what is there to do? ETH should be in the Bag 7. It's in the, ETH should be in the Bag 7. It's in the down 30. ETH is funny because it's not a scam because of the people at Ethereum. You know, they're not doing anything wrong. They're pretty smart. If I could do a whole Bag 100, that would be funny, and like it would just constantly underperform. I think that would be hilarious. Yeah, I think Ripple is more of the corporation. Yeah, again, there's nothing particularly wrong with crypto other than, you know, it's sort of struggling to find too much PMF other than stablecoins, which are really good. I like stablecoins, but the rest of it's a little tough. Like, you know, it's hard to beat the dollar. You know, I like Bitcoin. You know, Bitcoin is a pretty bold attempt. I'm not sure I love the price, but it's definitely not a pure play GameStop on Bitcoin or anything. I think conceptually Bitcoin is really nice. It's got a big Lindy effect, but you know, I don't know how to value it. And if you're valuing it on vibes, the vibes are bad, bro. Problem is, the paradox is nobody has any money when they make the fan. PayPal revenue is 32 billion. I think you might be thinking of the total payment volume, or the TPV is 1.7 trillion. So they process a lot of payments, but their take rate is, you know, many of those transactions is 0. I'm short. You know, that's the point, KG. Why do I have to? I don't have to even pay attention to the market. I buy good stocks like PayPal and Google. I short bad stocks like D-Wave and Rigetti, and hundreds more, Capricorn, Humacyte. You know, there's just endless. Don't have to do beta. You do beta. That's an insult, by the way, where I come from. Spend all your time trying to figure out if the market's going to go up or down. I think it's going up. Oh, Trump's and tariffs. I think it's going down. Oh, the tariffs worked. I think it's just going to go up again. Again, I don't want to make fun of macro guys too much. I mean, some people are good at it. Just because I'm not good at it, I'm mad. That's one interpretation. I think you can do macro, but to do macro right, you have to go so ham as to be the only thing you look at. You cannot look at stocks if you're doing macro, right? To do macro right, you cannot be looking at stocks. You got to go so ham on rates. Like, you're trading rates. You're not trading stocks. Stocks are just a small part of your portfolio. You're trading rates. You're trading bonds. You're trading FX, obviously. You know, it's not a game, you know? The same way we go ham on equities. So you want to do macro, go spend a lot of time on that. Spend time on inflation. Spend time talking to central bankers. But, you know, the idea that like, oh, you've got a feel for the market and you can make money doing that, listen, those days, to the extent anybody used to be able to do that, those days are over. Don't waste your time. Now, if you want to do heavy, hardcore research and come up with like an integrated perspective, take your shot. That's great. I'm not going to do that. You do that. I do what I'm good at. You do what you're good at. And you wouldn't ask an equities guy like me about macro, right? I don't know about it now. Do I know more than you? Yeah, but I really, quite frankly, don't know that much about it because I'm a stock jock, right? I'm not long Amazon. I looked at it. It looked okay, but I was going to wait on Amazon for a better price. Oh, wow. Bitcoin 76,600. You know, market sort of stabilized. SPY's only down 37 bips, but Bitcoin's really in the toilet. For a little while, it was acting kind of strong, but that strength has broken down quite a bit, I think. Let's actually look, use the HCP, the HMS. So we're going to put Bitcoin in here for the last, how are we going to do this? Let's go to the last month. Oh, that's cool. It's like a curved line. I like that. Good SPY. And certainly you've seen this outperformance. So maybe I'm just wrong here. Let's look at TLT. TLT's outperformed them all, obviously. But, you know, since falling off a cliff, I guess here's what I'm trying to point out. Let's look at this. Let's zoom in a little bit more. We should be able to just select what date we want. But yeah, if you zoom in a bit, just from April 2nd, when the crash, quote unquote crash started, you know, we've been basically pretty flat since then. And Bitcoin sort of took its drop a day or two after the equity market. If that makes sense. A little recovery. I guess it was down even more. But that's kind of what I'm thinking. It's, PayPal earnings. Again, 10 times earnings or less on PayPal. Really compelling opportunity. You know, I was talking to somebody about this earlier that ultimately 10 times earnings is kind of reserved for companies that are going to go out of business. PayPal's got a pretty good moat. It's not going anywhere. And at 10 times earnings, I mean, the whole company's bought back in 10 years, right? Or less. I mean, I think they're going to grow. How are they going to grow? I don't know. That we got to figure out. That's going to be the question. That's the question on everyone's minds. Now, Elliot bought out, Elliot has a big position in the company. If you guys want to see Elliot's returns, not supposed to show you this. I know some people that work there. The big boss is Paul Singer, if you guys didn't know. Paul Singer is a investing legend. They have 70 billion in capital, 70, okay? That makes them bigger than almost every hedge fund. There's only like 2 hedge funds bigger than them. That's technically bigger than Citadel, which is wild. So they're the only bigger ones are Man Group, which is this old European hedge fund. It's kind of like this very unusual thing, and then Bridgewater. So Elliot is just massive. So let me give you some of their returns, okay? 2024, last year, they're up 11. Now, Elliot is known for low returns and low risk, almost no risk, no vol. So let me tell you the last 5 years, or 6 years, okay? Starting in 19, up 5, up 13, up 15, up 5.8-ish, up 5, and up 11. So rounding some of the stuff up. I don't have the 2018 return. I got to go make some calls for that. But the other 3 years before that were up 3, up 13, and up 9. So I don't think they've had a down year in a really long time. In 2008, they were down 3%. But the year after, they were up 31, and the year after that, they were up 7. So they've had very little, almost no down years. And that's why it's one of the biggest hedge funds of all time. They just don't lose money. Now, they don't make a ton. They're not up 12 or 20 or 30. They're not a long short fund exactly. They do a mix of things. They have a merger arb desk, an event-driven desk. They do activism. They do LBOs, interestingly. They actually do private equity. So they do a little bit of everything. Yeah, Magnetar is interesting. You know, Citadel spin out. They've been around a while. You can read some of Paul Singer's stuff. He's obviously pretty active in Republican politics. Shorting is not leverage. Shorting is just shorting. Yeah, drawdown is the biggest enemy, yeah. But it's still, you know, relatively limited volatility and limited gains. So it's a really good product for a pension fund, right? It's not a great product for everyone. I mean, Soros is more or less the GOAT. I don't know how many people have ever beaten him in investing, but it's very, very few. Oh yeah. I have to do the algorithmic stuff. Again, I'm always like a little busier than I'd like to be. I mean, to me, I don't like index investing because you're basically saying, I don't know what's going to happen other than I'm going to make a big bet in the US. And to me, that's really cringe because it's like, well, how do you know the US is going to be great? You live here, you're already exposed by that. So you want to make an even bigger bet with your money that the US is going to be the best country. And maybe it is, I don't know. Is there something magic here that doesn't exist in other countries? To some extent, it feels like that sometimes. You can't really invest in Albania, it's too corrupt. I mean, I think, it's just the people on the inside have to put their hands in everything. And I think that's just something that is endemic in a lot of smaller countries. It's not specific for Albania. I don't really care about adjusting free cash flow for stock-based comp. Eventually, these companies don't issue that much stock when you get bigger. If they get reorganized into a bigger company, for example. So I don't think it matters that much. But if there's a huge stock-based comp number, I'm interested in that. But remember, you're also talking about Black-Scholes. So there's other ways to look at how much did that stock-based comp actually affect them and what is it going to do on a going forward basis, which is the more important thing. Of course, Palantir had to give out a lot of stock options, but are they going to have to do that going forward? Probably not. Everybody wants to work there now. I mean, when you invest in emerging markets, you're also making the assumption that equities go up over the long run and that there's something special about equities as opposed to debt or any other security. And after inflation and taxes, I'm not sure equities and survivorship bias. I'm not sure equities have done that well. So the point is there's no free lunch, all right? Because if there's a free lunch, we're eating it. You want a free lunch. Just invest in yourself. Try to make money doing some special skill that you're really good at. You're a dentist, be a dentist. Don't try to be George Soros and a dentist. Yeah, Tirana Stock Exchange is long gone. These emerging markets, you basically have to agree to corruption. Some people don't mind. I went to City College in New York, Baruch College, with Adam Newman, WeWork guy. He was my colleague. But it's a really attractive stock. I mean, this absurd, 8 times free cash flow is nuts. I mean, Adam's one of the most magnetic people. I didn't hang out with him or anything, but it's got to be one of the most magnetic people of all time, right? I don't like PayPal the product myself. That's not the question. When you're investing, you're not making a decision on whether you like the product or not. Scaling checkout enhancements, improving PSP profitability, and monetizing Venmo. Fastlane, PayPal everywhere. Yeah, Bluecrest is another super fund. Plaid is the king of Europe, man. But, he doesn't manage outside money, I don't think. So he's doing things a little differently.